All right, welcome back to another edition of the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast. This is our Week 8 recap episode, and I'm Brad.
Zach.
And I'm Hefe.
All right, real quick, we want to thank you for listening and watching, whatever the case may be. Please be sure to show us some love. Please, we're begging, show us some love. Like, share, and subscribe. And tell all your friends. Don't just assume that they know how awesome we are. We need you to remind them how awesome we are, and every little bit helps, and we certainly appreciate the support. So, boys, we are halfway through the season, and we are going to switch up our format a little bit. We're going to run down some games. We're going to start weeding out some of the games that don't really matter to start really at this point focusing each week on the shifting playoff picture. It's starting in one sense, it's starting to look a little clearer. In the other sense, it's starting to not look as clear, but we'll go through that. That's what makes it exciting. So today, let's quick hit all the games, and we'll just kind of dismiss the ones that aren't really counting. You know, the first one is the Falcons at Panthers. Like so many teams this year, the Panthers stock goes up. You bet on them, and then they just turn around and disappoint you, like a bad lover that just ran up all your credit cards and left you. I didn't see this one coming with the Falcons, but I don't expect much out of either of these two teams moving here forward.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say here. I picked the Panthers to win, but obviously I was wrong. The Falcons went into Carolina, came out with a 25-17 victory. The biggest notable on the stat sheet is the Falcons had 10 more first downs, which translated into 13 more minutes of possession and 100 more yards. That'll win you a football game.
Yeah, and I think going forward, I mean, they're already 2 games back in the playoff picture, and so it'll be hard to catch up with the top part of the NFC being so strong. But I think with Christian McCaffrey coming back, over the last couple of weeks, the Panthers have definitely been hurting for some of that production that CMC gives them, and so I think they're going to look better as the year goes on, but it's going to be really tough for them to make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, and that tough climb for anyone who's not looking at it. The Panthers, I think, are right now in 11th place behind the Lions and the 49ers and the Bears. And then the Rams and the Buccaneers, the Cardinals fighting for 3 spots. And I agree with you, Hefe. There's not much of a chance. I think we're laying groundwork for next year. Now, anything could happen. Any of these teams could take a nosedive, and the Panthers could suddenly out of nowhere rattle off 7 wins. I don't see it happening. All right, let's move on. Bill at the Bills. I'll save my my jokes. We'll move through this one a little quicker. Bill lost to the Bills. I guess I should have saved that speech for after the one last joke. A Bill lost to the Bills. Patriots have lost 4 straight. Beelzebub hasn't lost 4 games in a row since 2002, before all this Patriot domination nonsense started. It looks like it's the end of an era.
It's about time. I'm glad to see it, if you ask me. But in this game, both teams had almost identical stats offensively. It was predominantly a defensive game as both offenses struggled. But in the end, the Bills had just enough to come out with a 24-21 victory. And they finally got over the Patriots' hurdle and earned their 4th win over New England since 2003 and first since 2016. The Bills remain a game and a half ahead of Miami in the AFC East.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how the Bills do week to week. They've been struggling to run the ball outside of Josh Allen, and in this game, both the running backs run the ball 14 times, and they get good production from both of those guys. So, but they couldn't pass the ball this game. It was a little, not what you expect, especially with Stephon Gilmore not there. So just something to watch for with the Bills going forward.
Yeah, and as Zach pointed out, the Bills are currently atop of the AFC East, locked in one of the 4 guaranteed playoff spots for winning their division. So, but we will get in more into that in a few minutes. Next up, Titans and Bengals. The other shoe appears to have dropped, my friends. The Titans squeaked through several games with some really bad teams. early in the season en route to their 5-0 record. We talked about that a lot. We were kind of waiting to see how things went. They lost. They were dominated last week, and Titans fans will argue with you that point because they of the score. They think it was close, but for all intents and purposes, I think we'd all have to agree that last week against the Steelers, that was the Steelers' game to lose, and lose it they almost did, if you want to count it that way. It wasn't because of anything crazy the Titans were doing defensively. Yesterday, the Titans let a rookie kick the shit out of them. The defense is terrible. I would imagine the deeper we go into the season, the more this defense is going to be exposed, and this may actually get worse. Looking ahead, the Titans could very easily end up to be near 500 for the season before this is all said and done.
Yeah, I agree with you. They're definitely vulnerable. They've shown that. We've talked about it here many, many times throughout this season so far. They won by 6 points the first 3 games, combined total or something like that. So I absolutely agree with you. I predicted them to finish, I believe, 9-7 in our way too early season predictions way back in the day. So I do think they will end up about 500. I do think that they will be a wild card team, but I don't think they're going to win the division. But with this game, hats off to the Bengals. Even in a game where offensively the Titans had better stats, since he made their drives count, they had 12 minutes more in time possession, put up 4 touchdowns against the Titans. And like we said, the loss drops the Titans to 5-2, and they're now tied for first with the Indianapolis Colts in the AFC South.
That's right. And the Titans today's Monday, and so the Titans just about an hour and a half ago or so traded for Desmond King, one of the best slot corners in the league over the last 3 or 4 years. So they traded to get a little help, and it only cost him a sixth-round pick. But his PFF grade this year, as of right now, halfway through the season, is 74, which is down from the 91 that he was averaging coming into the year. So a little bit of dip in production will be interesting to see if how much that really helps their defense. They don't get a pass rush. The Titans can't rush anybody, and that no matter how good the secondary is, if the quarterback has 5 seconds and the receivers can just kind of do what they want back there, then that's going to be an issue for the defense. And you saw, this is a game where there was 1 or 2 turnovers that really hurt the Titans, and it seemed like if their offense isn't playing perfectly, then they're not going to have a good chance in the game because their defense is too bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. Oh, all right, let's move on. The Raiders at the Browns. Playoff implications for this game. We talked about that in the preview. Chucky trying to stay alive in the AFC playoff race, as well as the Browns. I think that I predicted that I thought the Raiders were a little better in this category with a lot of things being even. I thought the Raiders had the advantage here, and I think they showed that and took another big step towards securing a playoff spot and beating the 5-2 Brown teams on the road.
Yeah, it looks like Baker Mayfield isn't as good as we thought with Odell Beckham Jr. missing. He was only 12 for 25 in passing with the QBR at 39.7. But credit to the Raiders. They dominated in the game, even though they weren't able to punch in the points. Still came away with the 16-6 victory in Cleveland. Las Vegas moves to 4-3 on the year, while the Browns dropped to 5-3. Luckily for both, they're right there in the mix of the wild card race as we enter the second half of the season.
Yeah, this was a perfect game for Josh Jacobs. The weather in this game was an issue, which kind of played a part in both the passing games not being a huge factor in this game. But it was the perfect game for Josh Jacobs. We talked about how he needed a bounce back game. You could run on this Cleveland defense, and it came to fruition. They needed him to run with the weather the way it was, and he had a big game for him. Rushed it over 30 times for over 100 yards, and they were able to grind out a win.
Yeah, in this game, this brings me. I'd like to slide from this game into the next game, and then kind of bring it back around to this game. So, the next game is the Colts and the Lions. It looks scary for a minute. It was. I thought this was the other shoe dropping for the Colts. Did you guys know that the Lions have scored first in every game this season?
Yeah, I heard that during the game.
Yeah, that's an interesting stat, and it's pretty impressive, but not impressive enough. The Lions fall to 3-4 in a very stacked NFC. The Colts move into a tie for first in the AFC South with that defenseless, the defenseless Titans, baby.
Yeah, like you, the Lions had me worried going into this game. We started off slow, but thankfully the Colts played the way we know that they're capable of playing. They earned a dominating 41-21 victory in Detroit. Philip Rivers played extremely well, 22 for 33, 3 touchdowns, 262 yards, 0 interceptions. So all you Rivers haters out there, here's another game of why he's perfect for this system. And he wasn't shy with the ball. He ultimately threw to 11 different receivers in this game. But my offensive player of the game has to go to Colts running back Naheem Hines. He led the team in reception yards and added 2 touchdowns. Colts running back Jordan Wilkins also had a great game, 20 carries, 89 yards, and a score. But huge shout out to this Colts defense. Darius Leonard returned, and the Colts D looked like the best D in the league again. And as Jeff always says, you'll love to see it. So now the
Yeah.
Colts are 5-2, tied for first in the AFC South with the Titans. Detroit falls to 3-4 on the year and 2 games behind the Packers in the NFC North.
Yeah, yeah, it was a good game for the Colts. Like you said, it started off a little rough. There was a punt block, and they got the easy touchdown early. But once the offense got going and the defense really got going in this game, I mean, it was all Colts. The Lions got 20 points, but I mean, most of that came and a lot of their yards came in garbage time. When we were playing prevent defense and backing off because we were already at 41. So Kenny Galladay going out was a big factor in this game. Matt Stafford not having him is just huge for the Lions. But the Colts look dominating and they needed to win this game. This was a must win going into the stretch of games that they're about to have. They had to win this game. And going forward, I like their chances against a lot of these tough teams.
Yeah, for sure. And so there's a couple of the teams that I want to talk about that we're getting ready to talk about behind this, but I wanted to talk about the Browns and the Raiders, and then I wanted to talk about the Colts, and then next we're going to talk about the Ravens and the Dolphins. And the reason why I wanted to group these together is because when we look at the playoff picture, we basically have what appears to be a four-way tie for the last four spots of the playoff picture in the AFC. And we can actually, the Raiders and the Dolphins are only one game out from that. So we have six teams sitting right there fighting for these last four spots. It's getting really, really good. The Browns actually hold the seventh spot over the Raiders right now, despite the fact that the Raiders beat them. But the Browns are 5-3, and the Raiders are 4-3. So the Raiders need to catch up with an extra game. Right there, the Colts are 5-2, the Ravens at 5-2, and the Titans at 5-2, which is important because the Titans and the Colts are tied for first in the AFC South. So one of them is going to bump out to the wild card spot, which creates that tie. So it's getting really, really interesting. And to add to that, the Dolphins are at 4-3, and they're only a game and a half behind the Buffalo Bills. That division could flip on down the stretch. The Dolphins defense is playing out of their goddamn mind right now. They put on a clinic yesterday. And I don't know if Flores knew what he was doing, and he knew they were going to defensively dominate LA. If he did, then he's more of a genius than I thought he was. And that's why he started Tua, or if it's just coincidence, but damn. They put on a clinic. I've never been so happy to be wrong. I actually picked the Rams because they're schizophrenic, and you never know which freaking Rams team. I'm done with the Rams, and I will never doubt the Dolphins again. That'll probably bite me in the ass too. But Tua gets the start, but the defense gets the credit. They are freaking fun to watch. Now, one thing I want to say is yesterday, Jonathan Vilma mentioned a couple times about how people need to listen to him, that the Dolphins are for real. Hello. Run a lap around the stadium, pal, and catch up with the Horsemen.
That's right. Been saying it for months.
The three of us have been talking. I've been saying that on this show since we started in March. One of us has been saying it for an entire year. And people laughed. I mean, I've had people literally laugh at me when I was talking about how good the Dolphins were last year when I kept saying they were the best of the worst. People thought that was a joke. Well, they aren't laughing now. I mean, Flores has set the culture in the locker room. He's bringing the right people through picks and free agency. They got draft picks lined up for days. Thankfully, the Texans are going to hand them probably one of the top 3 picks in both the first and second round this coming year. And just as we expected and we called it, they are getting better every week.
Yes, they are. It's fun to watch. Like you said, you can go back and look at the tape. We have been talking about the Miami Dolphins being good from day one when we started this show. So go back and look at it. All you experts out there, we got you first.
We might have to pull the clips out and put together a Miami Dolphins clip of all the things we said and put the dates on it and we'll tag Jonathan Vilma and all those other people because Flores has got something going on down here.
Oh yeah, for sure. In regards to this game, congrats to Tua on his first NFL win. I'm still not impressed though. I still believe Fitzpatrick deserves to be the starter in Miami. However, a win's a win, especially in your first professional football game and against a playoff caliber team such as the Rams. So I look forward to seeing what Tua can do and if he can compete consistently now. But the Rams are 5-3. They're sitting in third in a tightly contested NFC West. Meanwhile, as you said, Miami improves to 4-3 and right there in that wild card hunt.
Yeah, and Tua didn't really have the greatest game. First start going against a really tough defense, you didn't really expect him to have a great game. It was good that the defense and the special teams were able to score a touchdown. That ended up being the difference in the game. But you got to think that as more time goes on, Tua is going to start to produce. You would think at a Joe Burrow type level. I mean, he has the weapons around him. Devontae Parker and Preston Williams are nice pieces to have. And so I think the offense will get going, but the defense is playing at a very elite level. I think I heard they're the number one scoring defense in the league right now. So they're getting it going, and hopefully they can keep it rolling. And my prediction, after what we've seen over the last 3 or 4 weeks, is that the Buffalo Bills are going to spiral out of control, and Miami Dolphins are going to steal this division this year.
That's right, baby. One of us picked the Dolphins to win this division, by the way. I'll let you two figure out which one that was. All right. So Steelers at Ravens. Man, what a hell of a game. Right down to the end. The Ravens threatening to score twice in the last 2 minutes. Steelers barely hold them off to pull out the upset on the road. But I don't understand why this game wasn't moved to Sunday night. Never mind. Yeah, I do. Jerry Jones called on the dysfunction phone, probably throwing a freaking another temper tantrum. What a bunch of horse shit. See Cowboys and
It's America's team.
yeah. Nobody wants to watch that trash. I'd love to see what the ratings were. Show Jerry Jones that. This game should have been Sunday Night Football. This is what division championships are made of right here.
Yeah, for sure. Baltimore absolutely dominated the Steelers offensively. They had 29 more plays, 236 more yards, and 11 minutes more in possession. But what killed the Ravens this game was 9 penalties for 110 yards compared to the Steelers' 3 for 30. And Lamar Jackson had 2 interceptions and 2 lost fumbles. I'm not sure what's going on with him, but he is not even playing close to the level he was playing at last year. Yet his QBR, 12.5. So hopefully going down the stretch, he'll find his rhythm. On the plus side, the Ravens still almost won this game, and that just shows just how dangerous they are if they can get it all together. But for the Steelers, they did what they had to do. Their defense stepped up. Their offense grinded out all game, and they came away with a huge win, moving to 7-0 and still the only undefeated team left in the NFL.
I think Lamar and J.K. Dobbins in that whole running game. They were able to get it going, right? They ran the ball 47 times for over 250 yards. The problem was they only got one touchdown out of that, and like Zach said, two fumbles come from Lamar is costly. Two interceptions is costly. They had every chance to win this game and just couldn't do it. And this is just another game for the Steelers that they probably shouldn't have won. And some balls go their way, and they end up with the win. So their time is coming. But the Ravens, they're going to have to be able to figure out how to get more production, which is why I think they brought Dez in. They got to find something. Dez has stayed in shape. He's obviously not going to be past Cowboys dominant Dez, but they had to do something. They're not getting any production from the receivers. Willie Snead just had a 100-yard game, but outside of that, they really haven't had anything in the pass game all year. So hopefully they get that figured out, but hopefully they don't do it this week because they play the Colts.
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with you a little bit. The Steelers have made a believer out of me this year. Winning, finding a way to win is part of it. And you may be able to stumble your way to 5-0 in a year like 2020 with the lack of preseason, but you don't stumble your way to 7-0 and beat the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore unless you found a formula that. And I'm not saying they're going to dominate; they're going to lose. I know they're going to lose, but they have a Super Bowl formula. They will be a contender in the postseason. They are somebody that, if you're a bet man, you can put your money on now and have a good probability of winning. And I think you know that too. I don't mean to completely disrupt. So our listeners need to know Jeff hates the Steelers. So what you just said about the Steelers is probably the nicest thing you'll ever say about the Steelers, right?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
So let's just. I'm just letting our people know to put things in perspective. Where that comes from. So, and yeah, man, what about Spillane?
Dude
This
is a
guy's
beast.
He's a beast. I mean, first of all, the hit on Denry, the hit on Henry last week. I mean, that's a highlight reel that will never go away. They'll be showing that in 20 years where they're doing promos for the NFL. But I mean, yesterday he had the pick six and a fumble recovery near the goal line. I mean, the guy's just a freaking monster. He's everywhere all the time. They got a real problem. It's a good problem to have, right?
Absolutely.
So to again put this back in perspective from the playoff standpoint, the Ravens are at 5-2, and they are fighting for a wild card spot because the Steelers are 2 games ahead of them, first place in their division. I don't see I mean, at this point, I don't see the Steelers losing control of the AFC North. They would have to go take a nosedive. I guess if the Steelers lose this weekend, obviously if the Colts win, I don't want to get I don't have the schedule in front of me, but the Colts also have the Ravens coming up, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I don't know the Ravens can catch them. They've got another game. If Hefe's predictions are right and the Colts beat the Steelers and then the Ravens beat the Steelers the second time around, I guess we got a tie, but I just don't see it happening. Either way, they're going to flip-flop and they're going to be fighting for this last spot. We're getting real congested at the bottom. All right. This game doesn't have playoff implications, but I got to bring it up. Chargers at the Broncos. And the reason I got to bring it up is because one of us picked this game correctly. And I'll let you two figure out who that was.
Hey, in my defense, I did say, don't be surprised if Denver wins this game.
The Chargers, they get leads and they just like go into prevent defense and try to run the ball, and they suck at running the ball. So teams just come back. They need to learn to just step on people's throats. Like all that chatter, oh, you can't run the score up. Nah, dude, if Justin Herbert wants to go out there and throw for 8 touchdowns a game, let him throw for 8 touchdowns a game. Just, dude, you got to stop doing the prevent defense. They should have, I think they've lost 5 games this year when having double-digit leads. So we should have had that right. Broncos got lucky. You got lucky. Won't happen again.
Yeah, it was a last-second touchdown pass by Drew Lock, or else it'd be completely different, and we would have been right. But is what it is.
Can I ask you a question? Did
I
I get it
mean,
right?
who's still leading
That's a
the
yes.
who's
That's a yes or
who's
no
still leading
question.
the who's still leading
Did
the league?
did did I get this game right?
You
That's all
did.
I want to know.
Yes, you did.
All right. And what does it do for the standings?
Put you one game behind me.
Well, first of all, what it does is I won this week.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God. Stop fucking lying.
And overall, it puts me one game behind. Just want to make sure that we're all on the same pace.
Who do you got? You have the Bucks.
Yeah,
I don't see.
Ain't nobody but delusional Jets fans picking something other than anybody other than the Bucks tonight.
Yeah.
Anyway, so all right, let's move on to. Is that all of our AFC games? Did we cover all of them?
You got Kansas City.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah. The
Jets.
Jets and the Chiefs. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and I mentioned that the Jets may be the worst NFL team in the history of the league. And he countered and said that he didn't think they were worse than the 2017 Browns. And but then in the conversation, he admitted that he hasn't paid much attention to the Jets. And then I got to thinking, I was like, about once every 3 or 4 years, I'm wrong about something. And this could be it. I haven't been wrong in a long time, so this could be it. So I went and looked. He's a Steelers fan, so obviously the Browns are front and center on his radar throughout the season because they're the same division. So I went and did some midseason comparisons, and I have some information to share with both of you. Surprisingly, the Jets are not the worst team in NFL history. Surprisingly, the Jets do not have the worst offense in the league currently. They are third from last behind the Giants and the football team formerly known as the offensive mascot. Their defense is somewhere around mid-range. The 2017 Browns had the worst offense in the league that year and had the second worst defense en route to their 0-16 season. No wonder they threw a parade for them. That record may never be broken. There's only one way to beat that record and be last in both categories and finish 0-16. I don't know that's ever going to happen. And then if that does, I guess you'd still win, but if it's close, you got to still compare statistics. Anyway, so big shout out to my man, Tim Fawcett, for calling it. I can admit when I'm wrong. It's so rare that it happens that I don't mind admitting it. I'm biased because I can't stand Adam Gase, so I'm projecting my bias onto the entire team in the city of New York, which I'd like to apologize to them too, for trashing their team, and except for the delusional Jet fans the ones that actually picked the Jets to beat the Chiefs last week. They need some serious intervention and therapy. They don't get an apology. They can piss off. But by the way, as I give a shout out to my man Tim Fawcett, I'm going to help him out here. I want to let people know he's an accomplished triathlete, and he's actually a triathlon coach. And he is out of the Chicago area, but he also does it remote, virtual training. And if you're looking for a coach or thinking about getting into the triathlon, and you want ask some opinions and get some advice from a coach, look my boy up. He was right, I was wrong, and it's the least I can do. Give him a shout out.
Well, I don't know why you're apologizing to the Jets fans for trashing the Jets because they are trash. I mean, they may not be the worst ever, but it's pretty close, which is still really bad. But in this game, the Chiefs won 35-9. I'm honestly surprised it was even that close. They should have just laid the hammer, ran it up, especially because I needed the fantasy points, Patrick Mahomes. But Kansas City is now 7-1, half game behind Pittsburgh for that number 1 seed in the AFC.
Yeah, the Chiefs came out there and it was really just backyard football. I mean, what Patrick Mahomes had, 416, 5 touchdowns. I mean, doing anything you wanted out there, just toss it up, let Tyreek Hill run past the defense and go get it. And I mean, yeah, we knew what was going to happen here.
Yeah, there's no surprises. So, all right, let's run down before we move on to the other games, let's run down the AFC playoff picture real quick. at first place atop the NFC North, and the only undefeated team. That sounds like I'm like introducing a boxer or something. The only remaining undefeated team in the league at the number one spot is the Pittsburgh Steelers at 7-0. Second is the Kansas City Chiefs at 7-1 atop the AFC West. Third spot is the Buffalo Bills at 6-2, currently atop of the AFC East. That looks like that's going to be challenged in the near future. Fourth, at the top of the AFC South, is the Tennessee Titans at 5-2, tied with the Indianapolis Colts, also at 5-2. So there we have 5 playoff spots because we have a tie at the AFC South. In the arguably probably the 5th spot, you have the Baltimore Ravens sitting second in the AFC North at 5-2. 6th spot would go to the Tennessee Titans or the Indianapolis Colts at this point. And 7th would be the Cleveland Browns at 5-3. On the outside looking in, we got the Las Vegas Raiders at 4-3, the Miami Dolphins at 4-3. And then the Denver Broncos at 3-4. I don't think that's realistic. I think the Broncos probably going to go 500, and they don't have a chance to catch up. I think we've seen that these top 9 teams that I just mentioned are probably our playoff teams. Obviously, 7 of the 9 are the playoff teams. So, all right. So next up, Vikings at Packers. I have a question for both of you. Well, maybe just Zach.
What you got?
Who told you before the season the Vikings have what it takes to win this division?
I don't recall.
Well, it's one of us, and I'll let the two of you figure that out. I'm just kidding. I mean, kind of. I mean, I did say that. I actually picked the Vikings to win this division because on paper, and I keep talking about that, they finally showed up last night, probably to not show up next week. I don't want to. I'm not going to put my confidence in the Vikings are here to stay. But I was happy to see that I wasn't crazy, that they could finally do what I said they could do 6 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, you did say that. I'll give you all the credit. I actually had Minnesota making the playoffs. I thought they would be a wild card team. Obviously, they're not that, but this was a divisional game. It was the second time they played this year, and as you always say, it's hard to beat a team twice in the same season. So, still, I thought the Packers they would have won this, but they didn't. Kirk Cousins played very well. He only threw 14 times, but he connected on 11 of those, including a touchdown. And Dalvin Cook absolutely shredded the Packers defense. 30 carries, 163 yards, 3 touchdowns, plus 2 receptions for 63 yards and another score. If Green Bay is going to do damage in the postseason, they have to tighten this defense up because you cannot allow a single player like Dalvin Cook to completely dominate you. But regardless, the Packers are still 5-2 and remain atop the NFC North standings by a half game over the Bears.
Yeah, and it was like the ghost from NFC Championship past, right? The Packers getting gashed in the run game again, and it's a problem that we knew they would have eventually, and it came back to bite them again. And Aaron Rodgers had a good day. It was kind of a bad weather day, a lot of wind there in Green Bay, but he was still able to throw 3 touchdown passes to Devontae Adams, and it just wasn't enough. They got to figure something out with the defense. Hopefully, go out get a trade and get a linebacker or a D tackle or somebody that can help with run support because they got a major problem.
Yeah, for sure. So the Packers are currently sitting at the top of the NFC North at 5-2. The Bears are challenging them somewhat. They're just a game out, which brings us to the Saints and the Bears. Close game. We all knew it probably would be. Saints got their much needed win, and the Bears are trying to fight for the NFC North, as I just mentioned. We talked about the Saints were on the outside looking in, and I think they're still on the outside looking in. If I'm not, yeah, right.
No, the Saints are actually technically
Ah,
leading the division depending on
yeah,
tonight's
yeah.
outcome.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Which tonight's outcome is, it better be a no-brainer. If it isn't, then I quit. I'm gonna take up curling or something. The big story about this Bears Saints game is, I mean, Javon Wims is going to be suspended. How bad is that going to hurt the Bears coming down the stretch?
Oh, is that like a legitimate question?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't really have an answer because I'm still not high on the Bears. I don't think they're as good as they appear to be. They played absolutely horrible yesterday. So I don't know how big of an issue that is going to be. Obviously, it's going to hurt, but I still don't like the Bears. So I don't know. But I will say on that, on his absurd striking, why do people throw punches with guys who have helmets on? It blows my mind.
yeah, it's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And even more importantly, you got a team fighting for the top of your division. You're sitting right there. You got a good team. And I understand things happen in the heat of the moment. I mean, Lord knows I've been in more fights in my life than I should have been. But when the actions calm down and you actually walk over and stare at a guy for a good 3 to 5 seconds, and then you start taking swings, you're a jackass. If you're 0-7 and your world's collapsing around you, that's one thing. But he just put his team in jeopardy of missing the playoffs because he can't control his temper. He gets paid way too much money for that shit.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna say it. Did anybody know who this dude was before he did this? Like, is this
I
really going to
didn't.
impact the Bears? Like, I don't know if it's going to impact the Bears. I think Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney are pretty much like the only people that Nick Foles needs to throw to. Like, those two dudes seem to have a knack of getting open for them. The NFL suspended Javon Mims for 2 games for that. So we'll have to see what impact it has. But that offense isn't good anyways. I don't think it's going to make a huge impact. Maybe it hurts them a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. Just something stupid. I heard something about an allegation that the guy he punched spit on him at some point or spit on one of his teammates or something like that. And that's why he ended up after that play went over, grabbed his chain and hit him. But even still, like you just got to deal with that in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if that different way, to go back to Zach's point, even if that different way is grabbing his face mask and giving him an uppercut instead of punching the damn helmet,
Yeah, like
right?
what do you
Just
expect to
stupid all the way around.
happen? Gonna try to knock a guy out with a helmet on?
Yeah.
And then he went back for a second punch. He like hit him, stepped back for a second, squared up, and then hit him again. Like, bro, what are you doing?
So, I mean, is he jeopardize his team, but he doesn't know how to fight either. Apparently, um, I would say this guy's future in Chicago may be done because we didn't know who he was, and it cost him a penalty like that. He's getting suspended 2 games, and who wants to be on a team with a guy who doesn't know how to fight? So, Wims, your time's up. All right. So, in clarification of the playoff picture with that, the Bears are currently sitting on the outside looking in there in the 8th spot right now, chasing the Packers. The Packers are 5-2 at top of the NFC North, and the Bears are sitting right behind them at 5-3. So this division is not over yet. And I would have said last week and the week before, after Zach bamboozled me into thinking the Packers were the most dominant team in the league, that the Packers, this is a no-brainer. But I don't see it this way. After what happened against the Vikings, the Packers could lose this division to the Bears. I don't think it's going to happen, but it could get interesting down the stretch.
No, it's definitely not gonna happen. The Bears aren't good. Not even close to being as good as what the record
The
indicates.
Packers lost to the Vikings.
It's a divisional game, they're in Lambeau. It's cold up there. Anything can happen in the
Rodgers lives
division.
in It's Rodgers' house. If you're cold in your own house, man, you got problems.
Yeah, the Packers will be fine.
I think so too. I think so. Hefe, you want to throw anything out here?
Yeah, I don't think the Bears taking this division is too crazy. Defense, good defense does a lot for you. I mean, we've seen it with the Dolphins. They've had some good games offensively, but the last couple games their defense has really showed up and it's kind of carrying them through games right now. So, I mean, defense can make a bad team look good, and the Bears offense isn't, super efficient, but it's not awful. I like Darnell Mooney. I like Allen Robinson, and Nick Foles is up and he's down, but good enough. So it's possible.
Okay, fair point. And I kind of straddle in between both of you. I mean, I don't think the Bears can do it, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised if it ends up happening. Or I'd be mildly surprised. Let's put it that way. Okay, so the 49ers, the Seahawks, the NFC West is starting to shake out a little bit. The Seahawks were just too much for the 49ers. Put a little bit of separation in arguably the toughest division in football right now.
I have some big news for the 49ers. You guys want to hear it?
Let's hear it.
Of course we do.
So 3:17, I got ESPN notification saying that 49ers quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo is expected to be sidelined indefinitely with a high ankle sprain. At 3:31 p.m., I got another notification saying 49ers two-time Pro Bowl tight end George Kittle is expected to miss 8 weeks with a broken bone in his foot.
Well,
And
they, as the Cubs fans always say, there's always next year.
yeah, it's unfortunate because this Niner team is pretty good, but this injury bug that they have had all season long is just absolutely decimating them.
Yeah, and my hat's off to Shanahan. He's made me a believer because he has held this together with freaking glue and rubber bands and made a pretty good showing. I mean, with all the injuries they've had and the arguably the toughest division of football, and they still have more wins than the leader of the NFC East.
True.
Yeah, that's what I was telling one of my friends. He's an Eagles fan, and he sent something in our group chat last night. With an Eagles fan, some social media Eagles thing about, oh, we're the best team in the NFC, or the NFC East. And I sent him a message back and was like, well, you wouldn't even be the worst, or you would be the worst team in the NFC West. So what are we talking about here?
It's like saying I'm the best dressed at a strip club on the west side of Indianapolis. There's no bragging rights there. All right, so let's slide right into the dumpster fire game of the week. The Cowboys and the Eagles. Jiminy freaking Christmas. And we have to talk about it because there's playoff implications here. Philadelphia Eagles are leading the NFC the NFC East at 3-4-1.
Mm-hmm.
Christ Almighty, kill me now.
Yeah, the Cowboys are straight up garbage. Carson Wentz for the Eagles is playing like straight up garbage. But regardless, the Eagles still got it done with 23-9 victory over the Cowboys. A win's a win, and they're in first place somehow.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I mean, anybody who knows me knows how much of a football junkie I am, and I'll watch pretty much any football. But last night, I just turned the game off. There was not this past Thursday, but the Thursday before was an NFC East divisional game, and then we have another primetime divisional NFC East game. Like, what are we doing, NFL? You got to slot these out. Nobody wants to watch these. These are literally unwatchable games, and somehow, I think the Cowboys, did they even score a touchdown? I think they've gone 2 straight games without scoring a touchdown, right? So, I mean, it's just awful football coming out of the NFC East.
Dude, and one of the worst teams in the league just whipped your ass 23-9. It wasn't even 23-21. It was 23-9. I don't know. All right. It's got Jerry Jones written all over it. Somebody needs to smack that guy. Be like, look, you're not good anymore. Finish above 500, and then we'll renegotiate.
They're living, what, 25 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah, and I was a Cowboys fan coming out of the 70s, and then I was a Cowboys fan in the 90s. I loved watching the Cowboys play in the 90s. But damn, dude, it's over.
But man, if the last few games have showed like the value that Dak actually has to the Cowboys and how good he actually is and what he could do. I mean, they just went from scoring 35 points a game or something crazy to scoring like 5 points a game. I mean, whoever. I mean, I don't know if Jerry Jones is going to pay him, but somebody is about to give Dak that contract he was looking for.
Well, and I think did we talk about this the other day that Zach? I think you and I talked about this. That Skip was talking the other day to Shannon. This Shannon, right?
Shannon Sharp. Yep.
Fit a thought.
Yeah, I couldn't. I want to make sure it wasn't the other brother. I was having an old man moment. Skip's a huge Cowboys fan, and he was talking to Shannon, and he posed. First of all, I was telling Zach, he said that he hasn't been more embarrassed to be a Cowboys fan than he was last week when they lost to the offensive mascots. And he poses a question that he thinks Jerry Jones is dumb enough that he's heard Trevor's name all over the place, and he's like, screw it, we'll get in the Trevor sweepstakes. And of course, Skip said that he didn't think Trevor was the best quarterback coming out of the draft, but
what was it, Mac Jones? You asked me and I didn't know. Was it Mac Jones?
Yeah, I don't remember who he said, but it might have been Mac Jones. I have to go back and see if I can find the clip, but he brought up a good point. Jerry Jones might be the kind of guy that he doesn't want to pay Dak what Dak wants. And maybe they are just going to say, well, while we're here, why don't we just get in the quarterback sweepstakes and let's start all over. Got a new coach, let's get a new quarterback. I think he's just not smart enough to do that. But
I don't watch a whole lot of college football, but from what I've been hearing, there are a lot of really good quarterbacks that are going to be coming out into the 2021 draft. So, I mean, I wouldn't blame them. We know the Jets are going to need a quarterback. And I don't know. There are a lot of teams with good young quarterbacks that got quarterbacks last year and the year before that. So, maybe they're able to snag Fields. What's his name? Jake Fields or something like that. Justin Fields. But I don't know. I would pay Zach. I would pay Dak. I'm cool with the Colts next year offloading Phillip Rivers' contract and Jacoby's contract, and we just bring in Dak for what he wants to get paid. Like, I'm cool with it. Make him a Colt.
I don't know, man. That's a pretty gruesome injury. You never know how that's going to affect somebody.
I mean, that's a good point. You don't ever know. There's a lot of variables, but if he heals, that would be awesome to bring him to Indianapolis. I would certainly love that. Okay, last NFC game. Bucks and the Giants. It's as we're recording this, going to be played tonight. This should be a no-brainer. But look, 2% of the people picked the Giants. These delusional New York fans are something else, man. I'm telling you, there ain't nobody in their right mind picking the Giants. I don't know. Anyway, let's get to the playoff picture for the NFC real quick. Top of the NFC in the playoff picture, the Seattle Seahawks are sitting at the top of the NFC West at 6-1. The Cardinals are sitting right behind them, as are the Rams. The Cardinals are one game back. The Rams are a game and a half, I think. But as of right now, the Seattle Seahawks have the number one spot, 6-1. Green Bay Packers sitting at the top of the NFC North at 5-2, with the Bears right behind them at 5-3. The Saints are sitting at the top of the NFC South at 5-2, with the Buccaneers at 5-2. Buccaneers should go to 6-3 and reclaim that spot again today. But kudos for the Saints for pulling off a much needed win. That had they lost yesterday, their season might have started to go down the drain. In the fourth playoff spot goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, sitting at the top of the NFC East with 3 wins.
Yay!
3 wins, 4 losses, and 1 tie. They're going to be the first team to win a division with 6 wins. I can feel it. The Cardinals are in 5th spot at 5-2, again, right behind the Seahawks. The Bucs are 6th spot, 5-2, tied with the Saints. Basically, they're going to move ahead tonight. The Rams are in the 7th spot at 5-3, right behind the Seahawks. And that NFC West division is just craziness right now in the NFC West. Kind of like the AFC North, not as much, but pretty close. But this NFC West, man, they're out there balling. On the outside looking in, the Chicago Bears at 5-3, which are just a half game behind the Green Bay Packers for the top of the NFC North. We just talked about that. The 49ers are at 4-4. Their season's probably done. The Lions are 3-4. Their season's probably done. The Panthers 3-5. They're probably done. Unless the Bears and the Rams just suddenly accidentally go the wrong direction, which they're showing a propensity for that to be a possibility. One of these other teams could get in. So we got to pick 3 teams, the 49ers, the Lions, or the Panthers, move around the Rams or the Bears if they suddenly take a nosedive. Who are we going with?
The Panthers.
49ers, Lions, or Panthers?
I would probably say Panthers too.
You said Panthers, F.A.?
Yeah, they're about to get CMC back. I think they probably have the best chance out of those 3, especially with the injury to George Kittle. That's going to be, the 49ers are just going to have a tough time winning.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with both of you. I would have chosen the 49ers before the news that came in today. And I think the Panthers, I like what Bridgewater's doing. And I don't think they're dominant. I think if they get in the playoffs, they're a one and done. But I think they're most likely, these 3 teams, to make a run. So I think we all 3 agree there. Okay. That pretty much wraps it up for today. We're going to start, when we do the recap, we're going to start really trying to clarify the playoff picture as it changes every week. So please be sure to continually tune in. It's not too late to go head-to-head against us in a weekly pick and battle. You can win during the week. You can't win overall because we're a little late in the season, but you can win week to week, and we'll give you a shout out, maybe even have you on the show. So hop on our Facebook, Twitter page at Horsemen Sports, where you can find the link to join our free Pigskin Pick'em League and win a prize and all that good stuff. So every Wednesday, check out Hefe's weekly power rankings, and he loves to hear from his fans, especially when they call him names and tell him how not smart he is because he put his team too low on the grid. So please let him know how you feel about where your team's at. And then remember that it's not his fault that your team sucks. I'm just kidding. Unless you're
Patriots fans,
Jets fans. All right. And you can find that on our Facebook and Twitter pages at Horseman Sports as well. Be sure to check that out. Let us know in the comments what you think about his rankings. And if you're into fantasy football, and I know many of you are, check out the weekly episode of Fantasy Central, where Zach and Hefe will cover this week's top waiver wire picks, the must starts, and the players to avoid this coming week. And of course, we will see you back here when?
Thursday.
That's right. For the next week's game picks and preview show. Until then, enjoy the games, and see you Thursday.